And we're not taking anything away from him. Aaron Judge likely, with the bad April, probably still gives you 30 home runs in a good year.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I am one of your hosts, Stacey Gotsoulias. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian, how are we doing?
Stacey, we're doing all right.
Great to hear. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live. So the Yankees made a couple of 40-man roster moves, so we'll discuss that. But first, it's What If Wednesday. We did this last week. We had fun with it. We're going to keep doing it probably the whole offseason because I like theme days. I think theme days are fun, and what ifs are even more fun because it's basically fiction in baseball podcast form. So, Brian, you get to go first. What is your choice for What If Wednesday?
My choice is, what if Aaron Judge didn't have the season that he wound up having? What if he didn't win the MVP? What if he didn't hit 58 homers and have 144 RBIs?
Has he won the MVP yet?
Well, I mean...
you never know.
I think with this one. Yeah. I think this becomes more pertinent of a discussion for What If Wednesday because it ties into the importance of this offseason. Ties into the importance of the next few months for the Yankees. They, if Aaron Judge doesn't have that season, they still likely make the playoffs. The odds are pretty good they make the playoffs, especially if Juan Soto puts up the numbers he puts up. If Judge doesn't have that season, they probably win 85, 88 games. They probably slide their way in. But did they make the World Series? Did they win the AL pennant? Did they win the division? Do they have as successful as a year as they do? And I ask these questions because, Stacey, what are the odds Aaron Judge does what he did again? Not very high. He had a season that statistically is one of the top 10, 15 seasons in the history of Major League Baseball. Odds aren't very good that he's going to be able to repeat that, maybe ever in his career, because it's just not good for anyone to repeat that ever in their career. So if Aaron Judge doesn't have the season that he had, which we really, honestly can't expect him to ever have again, well, what expectation does that give the Yankees for this offseason? What expectation does that give them if they don't get Juan Soto to go out there and sign a bunch of guys to be able to keep the lineup at least at the same production level? Because now you're going to be losing Aaron Judge's, miraculous MVP season because the odds of him doing that again are slim to none. And you're also losing 290, 40 homers, 110 RBIs in Juan Soto. It's going to be hard to replicate all of that. Those are two major pieces of your offense that did struggle through a lot of the year out of your order. So this to me puts an importance on either A, re-signing Juan Soto, or B, making sure you get Aaron Judge, replacements and replenish the lineup if you don't get Juan Soto, a Christian Walker, a Teoscar Hernandez. Make moves to be able to supplement the less production you're going to get out of Judge. I'm not saying Judge isn't going to be productive, but you can't realistically expect Judge to have the same season that he had. So you need to be able to replace the production that he did give you, and replace, what if Juan Soto leaves? So, yeah, what if Aaron Judge didn't have the year that he had? What would it have turned into for the Yankees? They wouldn't have had the same year, I can guarantee you that.
Right. Now, you're not saying, what if he had a horrible year? You're just saying, what if he didn't have the 58 home runs? You're seeing, more of a 40 home run year.
What if he had a normal power hitter year, right?
Right.
Which if Aaron Judge comes out next year and plays in 152 games, right, and he hits 38 homers and has 110 RBIs and hits 310, that's a solid year. We're not complaining about that.
No.
That's an expected year, right? Well, out of Aaron Judge, and that's the thing. We can't go into every year expecting Aaron Judge to hit near 60 home runs and have 150 RBIs. That's not realistic. And I know there's going to be Yankee fans that are going to expect that. It's not a realistic expectation. That's the point that I'm trying to make, though, is we can't go into every year expecting him to have these miraculous performances and do these near historical things every single season. He's just not going to do that. We have to go into every year expecting him to be a decent power hitter. 35 homers, 100 RBIs. That you can pencil in for Aaron Judge every year. So I sit here, Stacey, and think if he has a regular, normal power hitter year, how much worse are the Yankees? And probably a good amount.
Yeah. Like if everything else stays the same, yeah. Interesting.
And now if you lose 4 homers and 100 RBIs out of the lineup, which, you could in Juan Soto, it's not a guarantee that he's back. If you lose that production out of the lineup, then what happens? Now you're losing, if Aaron Judge has a regular season, just a regular normal power hitter year that we can't complain about, you're losing 20 homers and likely 30 RBIs from all of that. That's a bummer. Then you lose Juan Soto, which is 40 homers and 100 RBIs.
Yeah.
And now we're talking in a lineup that struggled throughout most of the year besides these two. You're talking about losing 50 home runs.
Yeah, they combined for 99. Yeah.
You're talking about losing 150 RBIs. That's including losing your leadoff hitter in Gleyber Torres.
Right. Yeah.
So if Aaron Judge doesn't have that year, and there's a good chance he doesn't, are they a playoff team? Are they winning the American League East? Are they winning the American League pennant? 2 out of those 3, probably not.
Right. That's an interesting thought. Like, what if Aaron Judge, the bad April, doesn't turn into an insane May and June? It just turns into, okay, he starts hitting home runs, but he doesn't go on a historic clip, and he doesn't go absolutely bonkers at the plate.
And we're not taking anything away from him. Aaron Judge likely, with the bad April, probably still gives you 30 home runs in a good year.
It's so crazy to think about the fact that he had such a bad April and he finished with 58 home runs.
He almost rebroke the record, which is insane to think about. I honestly believe this, and it's been said by a lot of media personalities, and I honestly think this is true. I think Aaron Judge this year was better than the 62 home run year. Yeah, I really do. Overall, as a season, I don't remember a period in the 62 year where he was this dominant for stretches. I think the 62 year was just consistent home runs. He was just consistent, playing well, obviously, but it was consistently homering it felt like every game. That's what he was doing. He would teeter off and get slow and then just heat up like no one's business. I don't think I've ever personally watched a season like this.
And it wasn't just home runs either, both seasons. It wasn't just home runs. His average was high too, which is unbelievable when you think about the year that he had this year and in 22 in the pitching environment that he's doing this in, where other guys are barely hitting 250, 240, 230. Some guys are struggling to hit 230. And this guy is not only hitting nearly 60 home runs in another season, but he's hitting over 300. And it's just unbelievable to watch. Yeah.
Miraculous. It makes no sense sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be grateful sometimes for, but you gotta sit here and think though, because Yankee fans do this. And I know we have that, World Series or bust mentality every single year. And, it's a good mentality to have sometimes, but also, sometimes it's to the detriment of the fan base because now you expect unrealistic expectations every single year. And I hope Aaron Judge's realistic expectations remain where they should be. And I hope they don't become, he had a down year. He only had 35 homers. That's what a good player does, is give you 35 homers. And we might be getting to that point where he's that good, where people are going to start expecting him to hit, 50 plus home runs every season. And that's not realistic, and, you couple that with losing Juan Soto, it could be tough.
It reminds me of after the Yankees won 114 in 98, the 99 team only won like 98, 99 games, but they were still such a good team but it was a 15-game difference. And Aaron Judge, if he if he hits 38 home runs, that's a 20 home run drop off.
Yeah.
And for anyone else, that would be seen as a disaster. But because it's Aaron Judge and because he's so otherworldly, if he becomes average, it's kind of like, whoa, like people are going to say he only hit 38 home runs, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it.
Because that 38 home run season for a hitter like him is likely also a 100 RBI season.
Mm-hmm.
And for any other, Gleyber Torres did that in 2019, 38 and 100. And we all freaked out. We thought he was going to be a superstar. That's a bad year for Judge.
Right.
I mean, think about that. Well, yeah, exactly. But, but that's what you should expect out of him. You should expect upper 30s, 100 RBIs. That's what a power hitter does.
Yeah.
And no one in the history of the game has kept up this consistency. We can't expect Aaron Judge to.
Right. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notifications so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get text from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades, signings, any kind of roster move like the 40-man roster move. If you had no idea who either of the guys were that they added, who we're going to be talking about in segment 3, feel free to do that. And during the season, we send out lineups, breaking news, roster moves, so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. All right, coming up next, my what if for 2024.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all available in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place all of your bets. So, guys, a lot going on in the NFL, obviously, but what a big weekend for college football. The first college football playoff rankings came out today or earlier yesterday. That's a big deal because now you can see, what teams need to win, what teams can't afford to lose, what teams need to cover just to stay available and stay with the ability to make the college football playoff. It all matters, and it's all happening on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. And remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. Those members get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. The link to everything is in our description. All right, Stacey, as we peruse through this show, we got into your choice for What If Wednesday. Hit me.
All right. I was going to do what if Gerrit Cole flip-flopped his 23 and 24 seasons, but I added something to it. Instead of him having his 23 numbers and winning the Cy Young that way, what if he went ham and had his 2019 numbers from when he was with Houston, when he was 20-5 and had a 2.5 ERA? How much better would the Yankees have been? What would the rotation look like with Cole healthy and shoving the way he was? And everything else happens the same way. So Clark Schmidt gets hurt. He pitches well, gets hurt. Rodon has his up and down season. So does that mean we don't see Luis heal until Schmidt gets hurt? So that's not until May, right? I think that's when he got hurt. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be interesting to figure out what that would mean for the Yankees 2024 campaign if everything else went the same way, except Cole just went absolutely ham in 2024 and was just mowing everyone down. And with the 20-5 record, that means that he wasn't victimized by the bullpen much at all. Maybe like one or two of those losses were a good Gerrit Cole start that was kind of screwed up by the bullpen. But other than that, he was just 7 innings at least every outing, couple of complete games in there, just really nuts. Now, do the Yankees run away with the division? Probably. Because if you add that many more wins, because he had 8 wins in 2024, but then you also take away Luis Gil's wins a little bit there, right? I'm just wondering what the team would be like if Gerrit Cole was the Gerrit Cole of 2019 and in the playoffs as well, because
just to reiterate how absurd his 2019 season was. Gerrit Cole, now a really, really, really good year for a pitcher strikeout wise is 200 strikeouts in a season. That's a really, really good year.
Can I say the number? Because I know it.
Yeah, mostly you want to get like 170 strikeouts out of like an 8 starter. If you can get 200, that's an outstanding season. Stacey, the number, so let's hear it. How many guys did Gerrit Cole strike out in 2019?
He had 326 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's absurdly stupid. That's an insane number.
Because you always, when you look at a pitcher's innings and you want, when we go through like the previews every series and you look at a guy's numbers and he's 8-3, he has 83 strikeouts in 70 innings. Like, you want the strikeouts to be higher than innings.
Yep.
And Gerrit Cole 326 strikeouts is, who's going to do that again?
Almost nobody. Do you know what his Ks per 9 were that year?
Oh, I didn't look that number up.
13.8. He averaged almost 14 strikeouts a game. I mean, it's one of the more. I mean, talk about a walk year. We all talk about how great Aaron Judge's walk year was. How he hit 62 home runs in the contract year, which was absurd. This is what Gerrit Cole did in his walk year. So
and he didn't win the Cy Young.
Yep, and he didn't win the Cy Young somehow. I don't understand that one at all. I agree with you. What does that year look like? It's as good as Luis Gil was winning the Rookie of the Year, and he was awesome. Luis Gil didn't approach these numbers, and no one in most guys in Major League history haven't approached these numbers. I wonder what the rotation looks like. I wonder how many extra wins they have. I'll say this: Gerrit Cole in the postseason shoved. Gerrit Cole was awesome in the postseason. Is he as fresh in the postseason? If he blows everything out of the tank in, the first 3 or 4 months of the season, or the first 6 months of the 6 months of the season, does he have that? Is his arm just in shape enough to be able to pitch like that in the postseason? Now, that might be asking a lot, but that's another question to add on to this. Is he as healthy in the regular season in the postseason? I don't know. It's a really fascinating question. It's so crazy because he didn't have that year with the Yankees, no one could possibly expect Gerrit Cole to be that good ever again. Right. I wonder how bad it would be, or how detrimental it would be, if his first year in the Bronx was 2019 and he put up those numbers. Because, I mean, he's been great for the Yankees. He really has. I mean, just quickly, we talked about how great that 326 was. The next year, in the COVID year for the Yankees, he threw 73 innings and had 94 strikeouts. Then he had 243, 257, 222. And then this year, Gerrit Cole threw 95 innings and had 99 strikeouts. He's been terrific for them almost every year that he's been here. Really, he has one subpar playoff loss in a game that he shouldn't have been pitching in anyway. His ERA since getting here are 2.84, 3.23, 3.5, 2.63, 3.41. You can't complain about any of those ERAs. And the only reason his ERA this year was 3.41 is because he had 3 bad starts. Those starts, and which the terrific manager who somehow got a second place vote for manager of the year, that manager left him in those starts way more longer than he needed to be for whatever reason, to give up 7 earned runs. If that's not there, his ERA is in the 2s again. So I wonder if 2019 is Gerrit Cole's first year, how badly does that hurt the expectation of Yankee fans?
Yeah. Although, I mean, if say things worked out differently and Gerrit Cole's with the Yankees in 2019.
They probably won the World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the point that I've made the entire time, too. If the Yankees trade for Gerrit Cole at the start of 2018, after 2017, after the magical year you have, if they're willing to move on from Miguel Andujar, who currently, works at a Walmart somewhere, Who knows? I have no idea what he does, but he's not in the major leagues. He's in the Oakland A's farm system, I believe. And they don't, hug Andujar and hug Clint Frazier, who I know isn't in the major leagues right now. Stacey, if they're willing to trade those guys for a Gerrit Cole, what does 2019 look like?
Right.
And that was the stopgap. Those were the two guys. That's why I constantly talk to you guys about the Spencer Jones stuff. And I know we're attached to Spencer Jones, and I know we love him. But we loved Miguel Andujar. We loved Clint Frazier. And think about how much you loved Miguel Andujar after he should have won the Rookie of the Year. Think about how much you loved Andujar after that year. And still, what did Miguel Andujar become? And if you would have been willing to part with those two guys to go to the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you would have got Gerrit Cole in 2018, what happens in 19?
I mean, to be fair, they both had pretty serious injuries, the both of them. Clint Frazier had the head injury that he was never the same after. Andujar was it shoulder or elbow?
It was both. It was both. It was his whole arm, really. But, Andujar's fully healthy now and not doing much of the major leagues, so I don't know how much we can really... and again, Clint Frazier had opportunities in other places and isn't in baseball anymore. But regardless, we saw what happened with those guys' careers, and because the Yankees weren't willing to part with them, they didn't get Gerrit Cole. And I don't know for sure, but they probably win the World Series in 2019 if Gerrit Cole's in the Yankees instead of the Astros.
Yeah. Andujar's with the A's, though.
He is. I think he's in their farm system.
No, he's with the A's.
He got sent down at the end of the year last year. I know he played with the A's for most of the year.
Okay, yeah. Like, he played 75 games with the A's. So
he's a quadruple A baseball player, though.
Yeah, true. But, not Walmart.
You're right. Clint Frazier works at Walmart.
We don't want to anger people in the comments with, disparaging poor Miguel Andujar. He'll probably...
Clint Frazier is in Walmart.
He'll probably be called up and play for the Sacramento Athletics.
I don't think they're going to be called the Sacramento Athletics, though.
They're just going to be called the Athletics?
I believe it's just going to be the Athletics, literally. Like, they're not going to have you can't call them the A's now. It's Athletics. Like, they don't want you to call them A's. Yeah, I saw that a couple weeks ago. Who knows? The whole thing is we got to have an episode at some point in the future. And let us know in the comments if you want this. It's not really Yankee pertinent, but it is because division-wise, what are they going to do with Tampa? Because I think this has a lot to do with what the A's are doing, because the A's are, moving to Vegas, but changing their name. They're playing a minor league stadium. What's going to go on with Tampa? Because there's news that consistently comes out every year. They can't keep playing at George Steinbrenner Field.
Well, that's
that's not going to last a long time. So what is their future plan? I'd love to know what you guys think.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Like I said, was it last week? We have 2 American League teams who are playing in minor league ballparks in 2025.
Could you imagine if we get an American League Championship Series? Now, it's the odds are very, very, very slim.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we get an American League Championship Series where all 7 games being played in minor league stadiums?
That's true. What if the Rays are good again and they actually make the playoffs? What are they going to do?
I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, the Rays could easily be it. Would anybody be shocked if last year was the year the Rays took off and they're all of a sudden good again next year?
Well, they traded Jose Siri to the Mets, right?
They did today or earlier yesterday. But would anybody be surprised if the Rays were good again? I certainly wouldn't be.
It'll be interesting. All right, coming up next, a couple of 40-man roster moves and a Rule 5 return, because those always confuse me. So there was some roster news. So the Yankees added infielder Caleb Durbin. We've spoken about him because he had a very good year with the Arizona Fall League. And they also added catcher Jesus Rodriguez to the 40-man roster. Now, a lot of people are thinking, oh, that means Durbin's going to be Glaber's replacement. That doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean it. They're just protecting him, I'm assuming, right? From...
Yeah, I mean, or they're making him available for a trade. It really all this means is when teams are moving guys all over the waiver wire is that no one can claim him on waivers because he's part of the Yankees 40-man roster. That's all this means. Right. I would not look too far into it. I would not look too deep into it at all.
You're
Odds
asking
are,
Yankee fans not to look too deep
well,
into something
yeah,
that's being done on the 40-man roster? Come on.
I agree. But I think because of the year, not the year, the off, is it called the season? I guess the year that let's call it the year that he had in the Arizona Fall League. Because of the way he played, there's a good chance somebody would have took a flyer on him.
Sure.
There is. And why let that happen? If the Yankees, that means the Yankees clearly believe in him too. So if the Yankees believe in his abilities and think that he can become something one day, why not put him on the 40 right now? It doesn't hurt them. And if he starts the year in the minor leagues, they can take him off the 40 and he's protected. If they sign him to a major league contract, he's protected. So it doesn't matter right now, especially also because they've lost guys off the 40. I would not look too deeply into this. It's not a big deal. But Yankees also do have people around the league that know if someone's sniffing it on Caleb Durbin. Like there's probably players that are in the minor league system that the Yankees didn't protect that you'd be a little surprised that they didn't protect. But if they've got an inkling that no one's going to touch that guy, then they don't mind you leaving him unprotected. There had to have been an inkling somewhere that someone's sniffing around Caleb Durbin. And, there is that fear that if you leave him unprotected and let's mention it again, the Rays pick up Caleb Durbin, then he steals 50 bases next year. There's a reason to keep that guy on your roster.
Yeah. It's basically like paperwork purposes. Like they're getting all their paperwork together and,
it's clerical.
Yeah, it's a whole clerical thing. And additionally, the Yankees received right-handed pitcher Carson Coleman as a Rule 5 draft return from the Texas Rangers.
Mm-hmm. And that has to do with Juan Soto, actually, also, who declined his qualifying offer today. Not that's unexpected. It's completely expected.
Yes.
But the Yankees will get another draft pick out of it, too. So they'll get the draft pick of whoever signs him. Unless it's themselves. Obviously, they just keep their own pick at that point. So we'll see. These are important moves. I mean, these moves are the nitty-gritty inside baseball organizations that make teams good, right? It's random Rule 5 draft picks. It's random protections of guys after off seasons that necessarily don't show up on the scorecard, and you don't really look at them and think of their big moves, amazing moves. But these are moves that keep teams good, and these are moves that are the top GMs in baseball are aware this time of year and are working hard at it all this time of year. So it may seem like it's boring and useless at this point, but it is very important for the teams.
Yep. Like it's important in that way, but again, don't look too far into Durbin being on the 40-man.
People will, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure if the Juan Soto news wasn't as big as it was, there'd be a report out there right now on The Athletic or some other insert medium here. What does Caleb Durbin being on the 40-man roster mean? Is he the next second? Of course, that's coming.
Right.
I think there is a less than 5% chance that Caleb Durbin is on the Yankee roster next year.
Yeah. And if you do see him, it's because of injuries.
If you do see him, something terribly horrible happened.
Mm-hmm.
Someone got hurt and is out for a lengthy amount of time.
Yeah.
Or they are having a dreadful season.
Mm.
So if you're a Yankee fan, you don't want to see him next year.
No. You want them to do more.
Yes.
Honestly.
I wonder, it sits in my head almost every single day. I really wonder what happens with the Soto situation, because you got to think that they have a game plan contingent of losing Soto. Like they can't just not have a plan for that.
Oh, yeah, no, they have I would assume they have a plan B. I would hope they have a plan B. They just don't want to use the plan B, but they have to have it.
But that's the thing, right? So if they've got plan B and, when does that go into effect? When do they start using that? When do they start looking at plan B as a reality? Because you don't want to think past Juan Soto leaving at this point. Why? You're in the middle of the sweepstakes for him. You don't want to think about that. But when do you start to take an act on plan B? When do you start to complete 5% of plan B or just look towards it being a reality? Because the longer Juan Soto takes us, the quicker those other guys are going to sign. So you got to you're almost
but I don't
think
they can do anything until he signs. Because it really depends on him. Because it's the whole Hal doesn't want to spend that much extra money. So if they get Soto, they're going to make smaller moves to fill up the roster and not spend as much money on the smaller moves because they'll be spending so much money on Soto.
I think there's a reasonable chance that the team that screws this all up, not the Mets,
Dodgers?
the Blue Jays.
Oh, the Blue Jays. Yeah.
I don't think I'll tell you this, from everything that I've heard, I don't believe the Dodgers are involved at all.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I genuinely don't. I think it was one of those. Scott Boras leaked to Heyman that the Dodgers are involved.
Yeah.
And Heyman came out public with it, and the Dodgers can't come out and say we're not involved, so that it sits there. There's no way they're involved. With all the money they've handed out in the last few years, and they just came off a World Series, no one's going to fault them for not being in on Juan Soto. And I don't think they're involved at all. But I'll tell you this. I think the Blue Jays are going to screw some things up. I really do. I don't think they're going to get him. But I think them being involved in the negotiation drives the price up even more to a point where it doesn't affect the Mets because I don't think Cohen's going to really care about the price being driven up more.
No, he doesn't care. He'll give
let it go as high as it wants.
Yeah,
exactly. Hal does care, and there will be a number where he'll stop. We know that. At the end of the day, and I said this all week, and I'll keep saying it all offseason, I don't think the Yankees are going to have the highest offer. I don't. I think it's going to be the Mets, and I think the Mets are going to make sure they're the highest offer.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Juan Soto is going to have to choose the Yankees over the Mets. That is it. And I genuinely believe, the Blue Jays might get involved. I don't think they're a serious contender, though. I don't think they might think they are, but I don't think Juan Soto is actually going to consider going there. I genuinely believe the two teams involved in the Yankees and the Mets. I do. And I genuinely believe that the Mets are going to have the higher offer. He is going to have to pick the Yankees over the Mets. And again, there are a lot of reasons to pick the Yankees over the Mets. We've gone over 1 million of them. Do you want to spend the rest of your career hitting in front of Aaron Judge or Mark Vientos? The Yankees have, I think, the bargaining power, and I think the Yankees have. They're gonna come close to the salary. They're still gonna pay an absurd amount of money. They're gonna have the benefit of you're gonna play with Aaron Judge. We're always gonna compete for a championship. You're gonna play in the Bronx in October. Oh, and by the way, there is the lure of being an all-time Yankee as opposed to being an all-time Met. There just is. We described it earlier in the week. Seaver and Mantle are both the top echelon of all-time players in their respective positions. Who gets thought of in a bigger lore? Mickey Mantle and Tom Seaver. It's Mickey Mantle. So there's a lot to that to prove to Juan Soto. But does he only care about the money? We're gonna find out. We really are.
Yeah. We just gotta sit here and wait.
There's reason to be nervous, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There are many reasons to be nervous these days.
But were you this were you this nervous when the Gerrit Cole offseason was happening? Because they were super in on him and they really wanted him.
No, I was not.
It didn't feel like this.
Because we didn't have a taste of Gerrit Cole.
True.
We didn't know what it was like to have Gerrit Cole on our team. We know what it's like to have
You also knew the team he was coming from wasn't getting him an offer.
Right. But we know what it's like to have Juan Soto on the team. We know what it's like to have Juan Soto in the playoffs. We've seen Juan Soto hit a big home run in the playoffs, and we like how that felt, and we want to have that feeling for the next 15 years. Hal, I know you're not watching, but...
Well, that's my thing, right? So we, didn't have a taste of Gerrit Cole, but also you knew the team that he came from that he was more familiar with wasn't involved in the negotiations.
Yeah.
That was a huge plus. But, you see what Boras has his clients doing. Gerrit Cole is a Scott Boras guy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys remember this. When the Astros lost the World Series in 2019, in his postgame, directly after the last out happened, Gerrit Cole showed up in the podium, not wearing a Houston Astros hat, wearing a Boras Corp hat, which kind of said, I'm going to the highest bidder. And the highest bidder that year was not the Yankees. It was the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Gerrit Cole chose the Yankees. Now, the bid was very, very similar. But the Dodgers offered him less years, so more money overall and a quicker chance to become a free agent. Let's just remember, these guys pull hard. He trains these players to pull really, really, really hard negotiations. He trained it in Gerrit Cole, clearly. And Gerrit Cole, from all accounts, wanted to be a Yankee the entire time. He still showed up wearing a Boras Corp hat. So let's remember, these guys hold hard negotiations. They may want to be here. You got to be careful with every report you read and how quickly you're going to react to all of them.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball. He keeps you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll see you tomorrow.